So I traveled to Vietnam for a short work trip and was able to explore a little bit on the weekends. Vietnam is an interesting country, and I definitely witnessed a lot of interesting things while I was there. The country was colonized by the French in the 1800s, and there's still a lot of French influence to this day in architecture, food, etc. If you didn't know this already, the US had a war in Vietnam in the 1960s and 70s called the Vietnam War, fittingly. And in return, the Vietnamese referred to this war as the American War. In this video, I will be first taking you to the memorial for former POW and US Senator John McCain, who was shot down over a lake in Hanoi in 1967 while on a bombing mission and held at the Hanoi Hilton prison for over 5 years. Then I will be taking you on a food tour of Hanoi. Enjoy. So this is where McCain was shot down on. Actually, he was shot down behind here on a little bit smaller of a lake. So you can walk down this pathway here, and then you have to run across the street like playing chicken. And then here's the smaller lake where he was actually shot down, and his memorial is right there. And then there's some swan boats that are on the lake, which I'm sure Senator McCain would find quite entertaining. And here's the statue to him. This was actually built in the 1980s or 1990s because it is shown in a news file from 2000 when McCain and his wife and child went to go visit the Hanoi Hilton. So this was erected just to show, I guess, how courageous and determined he was in captivity. Side note, I wasn't able to catch a taxi back to the hotel from here, so I ended up catching a ride on the back of an old man's scooter. And now the food tour. Our first stop was this communist-themed coffee shop by the cathedral in the French Quarter. It was right next to a also self-proclaimed propaganda poster shop, and all the baristas wore communist-themed outfits, I guess. But the communist coffee was absolutely delicious though. Hashtag communist coffee. Like any other cafe or restaurant in Vietnam, the space was quite small and difficult to move around in, especially for us fat Americans, and the stools and chairs were child size. And here's some old Russian literature. Russia and Vietnam have an old friendship going back to the Cold War since they both used to be communist countries. Ho Chi Minh was actually educated and trained in Russia. The bathroom at the cafe had open shutters where anybody could watch you pee, and so I decided to close them. There were also tons of chihuahuas. And then we went down this dark alleyway to get our organs sold on the black market. Just kidding, our food tour guide showed us some of the prime real estate space in the French Quarter. Some of these buildings have been occupied and owned by families for generations. The value of the real estate is actually on par with Manhattan and New York, so people don't want to leave. The tour guide told us at one point there was only one working bathroom for about 60 families. There were also tons of electrical cords bundled up and strung everywhere. And this was some home-brewed wine that the tour guide's father-in-law had made. It was straight moonshine. We drank it out of shot glasses. And these were some sub sandwiches that we ate. They were pretty good, but I have no idea what the meat was made out of. I normally don't go out of my comfort zone as far as food goes, but I decided to force myself to try new things, but I soon regretted this as soon as I saw a water bug cockroach thing that was being served as a dish at this restaurant. We went to this beer garden thing. I cannot remember the name of what they call it in Vietnam, but we drank Hanoi beer, which is actually pretty decent. I'm not a beer drinker, but I drank it. This was the most narrow building in all of Hanoi. Many of the women riding scooters wore long ninja-like outfits. They were usually pants and long sleeves and a hood with sunglasses and a mask that they wore in order to not get dirty and to, I guess, not get sunburned. Oh, and that was some coconut Vietnamese ice cream that we ate. It was delicious. And this cafe was famous for its egg coffee. Tiny, tiny stools and tables everywhere. We were a bit crammed. I thought the egg coffee was delicious. Not everyone agreed with me, but it was kind of like a root beer float. It was very sweet, more like a dessert, and you had to eat it by the spoonful. Tiny spoonful.